Daniel believed his marriage was solid. He and Grace had survived 2 children, 1 mortgage, and a kitchen renovation that nearly required United Nations peacekeepers. After 12 years together, he considered himself a loyal husband with excellent judgment. Unfortunately, his judgment was about to take unpaid leave. Grace trusted Daniel completely. She knew his phone password, his embarrassing dance moves, and the exact location where he hid emergency cookies. Their marriage was not perfect, but it was honest, or so she believed. Daniel also believed that, right up until a new coworker joined his department. Vanessa arrived on a Monday wearing a red blazer and enough confidence to negotiate peace between cats and vacuum cleaners. She was smart, funny, and newly divorced. Daniel noticed her immediately, but attraction itself was not betrayal. His first dangerous choice was pretending he had not noticed. At first, their conversations were harmless. They discussed clients, deadlines, and why the office printer behaved like a demon powered by paper jams. Then Vanessa began texting Daniel after work. The messages were still innocent, but Daniel started smiling at his phone like it had offered him free money. Grace noticed the smiling. Daniel said Vanessa had sent a funny work meme. That was technically true, which is the favorite shelter of people preparing to lie. He did not mention the 27 other messages or the compliment about Vanessa's eyes. The truth had already started losing weight. Daniel told himself that chatting was not cheating. He was merely enjoying attention, which sounded much nicer than emotionally feeding a dangerous situation. His conscience knocked politely. Daniel turned up the television and pretended nobody was home. The conscience returned with a larger hammer. Within 2 weeks, Daniel changed Vanessa's contact name to Victor from accounting. Unfortunately, the real Victor was 63, wore socks with sandals, and sent messages exclusively about tax forms. Daniel's fake Victor used heart emojis. Even the disguise looked embarrassed to be involved. Vanessa invited Daniel to lunch alone. He knew Grace would feel uncomfortable, so he told her the entire team was going. Decision number 1, accept the invitation. Decision number 2, lie about it. Decision number 3, order garlic pasta before sitting close to someone. Even betrayal should respect basic planning. At lunch, Vanessa shared details about her divorce. Daniel discussed his frustrations with Grace, things he had never actually discussed with Grace. Emotional intimacy quietly entered, removed its shoes, and made itself comfortable. Daniel kept insisting this was friendship while friendship nervously contacted an attorney. That evening, Grace asked about lunch. Daniel said it had been boring and changed the subject. His lie lasted 7 seconds but created a permanent crack. Betrayal had not entered a hotel room yet. It had entered the marriage through one ordinary sentence at the dinner table. The secret lunches continued. Daniel began deleting messages every night. He called this protecting Grace from unnecessary worry. His conscience called it evidence removal. The phone's trash folder called it job security. Everyone understood the situation except the man holding the device. Grace sensed distance and suggested a weekend trip. Daniel refused because of a supposed deadline. In reality, he had volunteered for Saturday work because Vanessa would be there. He was no longer falling accidentally. He was checking the weather, packing snacks, and driving directly toward the cliff. Saturday ended with drinks. Daniel promised himself 1 beer. 1 beer became 3, then 4, because apparently numbers also lose boundaries after sunset. Vanessa touched his arm. Daniel did not move away. His wedding ring suddenly felt heavy, though it had weighed exactly the same that morning. Vanessa asked whether Daniel was happy. He answered with a speech about feeling invisible at home. Grace had asked him the same question 3 weeks earlier, but he had said he was fine. Apparently, honesty had office hours, and Grace kept arriving after closing time. They kissed in the parking lot. Daniel immediately pulled away, shocked by a situation he had spent 6 weeks carefully constructing. He called it unexpected. The deleted messages, secret lunches, fake contact name, and Saturday lie formed a committee and unanimously disagreed. Daniel could have gone home. Instead, he followed Vanessa to her hotel. At every red light, his conscience offered an exit. Daniel kept driving. Later, he would describe the evening as one impulsive moment, although it contained enough separate decisions to fill a corporate training manual. The physical betrayal happened once. The next morning, Daniel felt sick with guilt. He ended things with Vanessa through a message beginning with, "Last night was a mistake." Vanessa replied, "Which part?" Daniel stared at the screen because the correct answer was approximately all of it. Daniel returned home and told Grace he had slept at Mark's apartment because he was too drunk to drive. Mark was his best friend and, without knowing it, had just been promoted to director of imaginary housing. Daniel's one-time mistake now required supporting staff. Grace hugged him and said she had worried all night. Daniel hugged her back while shame performed gymnastics in his stomach. This was another moment when he could have confessed. Instead, he said, "I'm sorry I scared you," carefully apologizing for the smallest available crime. For 3 days, Daniel planned to confess. Unfortunately, every planned confession met a sudden emergency: soccer practice, a work call, a broken dishwasher, or the urgent need to reorganize a drawer. The drawer had never looked better. Daniel's integrity looked significantly worse. Vanessa honored Daniel's request for distance for almost 48 hours. Then she messaged, "I miss talking to you." Daniel replied, "We need boundaries." He followed that excellent sentence with 17 additional messages. The boundary arrived, looked around, and immediately resigned. They never became physically intimate again, but the emotional affair continued for another month. Daniel used this fact to reassure himself. His loyalty had apparently become a lawyer, searching for technical loopholes while the marriage quietly filed for emotional bankruptcy. Grace finally discovered the truth through a restaurant receipt in Daniel's jacket. It showed dinner for 2 on the night he claimed to be helping Mark move. Mark had lived in the same apartment for 6 years and owned 1 chair, so the moving story immediately collapsed. Grace asked one question: who was she? Daniel answered, "Just a coworker." This was technically accurate in the same way a tornado is technically moving air. Grace requested his phone. Daniel refused, claiming privacy. Privacy watched secrecy steal its identity and called the police. Daniel admitted to several lunches. Grace asked whether anything physical had happened. He said no. 10 minutes later, she found a cloud backup containing the parking lot conversation. Daniel upgraded his answer to 1 kiss. The truth was arriving through software updates. Grace kept asking. Daniel admitted the hotel only after she found the location history. He insisted it happened once and called it a drunken mistake. Grace stared at him. "You accidentally followed her through 6 traffic lights, checked into a hotel, and lied for 2 months." Daniel began his defense with, "It meant nothing." Grace replied, "Then you risked everything for nothing." That's not comforting, that's terrible math. Somewhere, a calculator exploded from second-hand embarrassment. Daniel's argument packed a suitcase and left the country. He tried blaming alcohol. Grace reminded him that he had been sober during the secret lunches, fake deadline, contact name change, and message deletion. "Alcohol didn't build this road," she said. "It only drove the last mile." Daniel had no response, so silence entered as his legal representative. Grace told Daniel to leave for the night. He went to Mark's apartment, finally giving his imaginary housing story a real address. Mark listened, horrified. "You said it happened once," he replied. "But you chose it about 50 times before reaching the hotel." That sentence changed Daniel's perspective. He created a timeline, expecting to document one terrible night. Instead, he listed 43 decisions, private messages, deleted chats, false explanations, secret meetings, and missed opportunities to stop. His moment required 3 pages and a spreadsheet. The next morning, Daniel returned without excuses. "I did not make one mistake," he told Grace. I made a series of selfish choices and then called the final one an accident. Grace did not forgive him, but for the first time, she heard an honest sentence. Daniel handed Grace the complete timeline, his unlocked phone, and his resignation from the project involving Vanessa. He did not demand forgiveness. He said, "You deserve the whole truth, even if the truth makes you leave." Accountability finally entered the room without wearing a fake mustache. Grace requested separation and marriage counseling. Daniel agreed immediately. Their therapist, Dr. Patel, had the calm face of someone who had heard every human excuse and kept them organized alphabetically. She asked Daniel why he had hidden the affair instead of confessing. "I was afraid of losing my family," Daniel answered. Dr. Patel raised one eyebrow. "Yet you protected yourself by letting Grace live inside a false reality." The eyebrow completed more therapeutic work in 3 seconds than Daniel had managed in 2 months. Grace explained that the hotel hurt, but the trickle truth hurt differently. Every new discovery forced her to relive the betrayal. "You did not break my trust once," she said. "You broke it again each time you gave me only the truth I could already prove." Daniel wanted to say he had been protecting her, but he finally recognized the sentence as emotional furniture assembled backward. He corrected himself, "I protected myself from consequences and made you carry the confusion." Dr. Patel's eyebrow lowered slightly. This counted as a standing ovation. Over the following months, Daniel maintained no contact with Vanessa, attended individual therapy, and answered every question without becoming defensive. He also stopped presenting basic honesty as a heroic achievement. Telling the truth was not extra credit. It was the assignment he had repeatedly failed. Grace did not rush to forgive. She rebuilt her own routines, met friends, and resumed painting. For years, she had decorated everyone else's life while leaving her own walls blank. Now she painted enormous flowers that looked capable of physically removing dishonest men from buildings. Their children knew only that mom and dad were working through adult problems. Daniel resisted using the children as emotional glue. A marriage held together solely by children was not repaired, it was furniture secured with frightened toddlers and extremely questionable engineering. 6 months after the discovery, Grace still loved Daniel but no longer knew whether love was enough. Dr. Patel reminded them that reconciliation was not the only successful outcome. Sometimes therapy repairs a marriage. Sometimes it helps 2 people end one without setting the neighborhood on fire. Grace asked Daniel the final question, "If I cannot trust you again, will you still respect my decision?" Months earlier, he would have begged. Now he answered, "Yes." Accountability means accepting consequences I do not like. His voice shook, but the answer remained standing. Grace chose divorce. Not because the physical betrayal happened once, but because the deception changed how she experienced the entire marriage. She did not want to spend years working as a detective inside her own home. She wanted a life where silence did not require forensic analysis. Daniel was devastated, but he did not call Grace cruel or use the children as bargaining chips. He signed the papers, continued therapy, and became a reliable co-parent. Losing the marriage did not erase his responsibility to become a better father and a more honest human. A year later, Grace opened a small art studio. Her enormous flowers became popular, especially one painting titled Boundaries. It featured a bright red fence and a tiny man carrying 43 excuses. Critics called it emotionally powerful. Mark called it suspiciously accurate. Daniel eventually told a men's support group his story. He did not say, "I cheated once." He said, "I crossed one final line after repeatedly moving it." The distinction mattered. It transformed him from a victim of one bad night into the owner of his choices. One younger man asked whether alcohol had caused the affair. Daniel shook his head. Alcohol lowered the final gate. I had already unlocked every gate before it. The room became quiet. Even the snack table stopped producing suspicious plastic noises for several respectful seconds. Grace eventually forgave Daniel, but forgiveness did not mean reconciliation. It meant releasing the anger that kept renting space in her mind without paying utilities. They became respectful co-parents, attended school events together, and stopped turning every conversation into a courtroom drama with juice boxes. The affair happened physically once, but the betrayal was built through dozens of choices before and after it. Daniel finally understood that a moment of weakness does not arrive alone, it travels with secrecy, opportunity, and excuses. The real boundary was crossed when he knew Grace would be hurt and continued anyway,